Iran rejects President Trump's 15-point peace plan. They issued their own counteroffer, which reads more like a list of demands, including the removal of American sanctions and full sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz, which would allow them to control more than 20% of the world's oil. Iran also launching more attacks on Israel and the Gulf Arab countries today. Right there, Iran has released a shocking AI-generated video depicting a missile destroying the Statue of Liberty with the head of the ancient deity Baal. The clip portrays the U.S. as a global enemy, touching on various wars, the Epstein scandal, before ending with the chilling slogan, "One vengeance for all." Lego-themed Iranian propaganda videos are also going viral. Experts warn these deep fakes are calculated propaganda designed to influence Americans.
Shalom, Kohalim La, Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai. What's up, the bonus of those of GMS and Odyssey Wakim. Peace and bless you, brothers and sisters that listen to the Church of the Firstborn, hopeful elect. Kohalim La, Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai. And I don't know what I'm going to title this video, but we can see that the king of Babylon, we see Trump, Babylon's pride is being wounded, man. You know, this isn't, you losing that cloak of invincibility, man. I may title the video something like that, you know, see through the spirit. But as we know with this whole war update, they tried to give some peace solution. I think the 15-point plan or whatever. And Iran rejected that, man. And Trump was lying, saying, oh, we talking to them. They trying to make a deal. Iran said, nigga, you were talking to yourself. We ain't trying to make no deal, man. Okay? Because Trump is lying, the American media is lying, and they're not telling these people the gravity of the situation, what's happening. This is the greatest energy crisis ever, man. That's what all these economists are saying. But this whole Strait of Hormuz being closed, man. Right? You got, they said, well, we see how the markets is doing. It's bad. Okay? You got inflation. You got, how you call it? The supply chain is messed up because it's not only oil and for your gas, you have fertilizer. You people in the pharmaceutical drugs, that's all taking a hit. And you need fertilizer for agriculture, man. And it's affecting everywhere, right? Europe, America, the Middle East. We see tourism, right? Well, especially over there in the UAE, Dubai, they getting hit over there, man. And of course, that bastard state Israel, do another video on that. They getting hit. All right. And Trump is using all this money. Here it is. You got the government shut down, postal complaining they don't have money. And the next year they're going to be bankrupt. And these are all federal jobs. And he wants to take all this money, $200 billion, and add it to the national debt to fight this war, man. Like we said, Trump is chosen. The elite chose this guy to bring forth chaos. Right. But they think they could control it. But as we know, according to the precepts, this whole WWE is going to spiral out of control and it's going to backfire, man. See, Aisha, you didn't properly think this through. Right. That's what scripture tells you that. Sirach, the 10th chapter, we know the classic precept. Let me get that. Sirach chapter 10, verse 3. It says, an unwise king destroyed his people. Right? An unwise king, he destroys his people. As they also say in the book of Proverbs, when the righteous are authority, the people rejoice. When the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. Right? And scripture tell you that sorrows is going to compass this place on all sides, the world. Right? Because the world markets is taking a hit because of this war, man. Right? So all these people that, like, we did videos mocking you MAGA idiots, y'all about to suffer, man. Y'all about to suffer, man. Because Trump is a foolish king, right? He's irrational, man. He doesn't think things through. See, and Babylon feel like they could just bully people. Well, what did Iran say? Right? There's an article right here. They said, yo, because now we see ground troops. They're not officially announcing it, but they sending soldiers over there. I think they deployed over 2,000 to 3,000 or 4,000. Let me see if I can find this article quick. All right. Head is them taunting Babylon, man. Here we go. It says, Iran tells U.S. troops. There we go. Iran tells U.S. troops come closer as Pentagon sent to deploy 3,000 soldiers. They say, nah, come closer, man. Okay, we ready for y'all. Right? They say they were prepping for this war for over 2 decades. They said, we're going to fight unconventional warfare. Right? We prepared. Are you Babylonians? Are you prepared? Of course not, man. These people over here, the scripture tells you, the mighty men of Babylon, they don't want to fight. Right? They don't want to go over there, man. See? But Yahweh Shemal Shah, he going to lead you over there anyway. All right, let's read on. Let me read a little bit. It says, this development emerges as Pentagon is anticipated to confirm the dispatch of 3,000 strong brigade combat team to bolster U.S. and Israeli operations against Iran. And that's how you know the draft is coming. Right? They already raised up the enlistment age to 42. So a mandatory draft is coming because why? They have to get back the Strait of Hormuz. Have to. Because this is affecting the markets. It says, this is what they said. They said, the Iranians, he said, for years we've been waiting the Americans' entry into the designated points. And for over 2 decades, we've been training with the asymmetric warfare, unconventional warfare strategy for this very moment, reports the Mirror. Now we have just one message for the American soldiers. Come closer. So they ready, man. See, they said the ominous message suggests terrain's preparedness to confront U.S. military personnel. Should Donald Trump opt to deploy ground forces in Iran, they're going to send ground forces to Iran, right? They're already deployed. How much? 3,000 soldiers. And they're going to keep sending. Okay. So like we said, man, Aisha, that's what the scripture tell you, Isaiah the 19th chapter, about the princes. Let me get that. Isaiah 19 verse 11. Isaiah 19, we know the burden of Egypt. This Egypt is America. We saying to the spirit, that cruel Lord gotta be Trump, man. Okay, gotta be Trump. And we know the elect is going to make an altar. Well, I'm gonna do another video on that, man. Because everything that's happening now, it's everything that the scripture's talking about. Isaiah 19 is playing out right now, man. Okay, how there's going to be no work for Egypt, how the economy, the agriculture of Egypt, everything is going to fail. Okay, now let's read though. Isaiah 19:11, classic. It says, surely the princes of Zoan, which like we said, Zoan was like the chief cities in Egypt, right? Today, like we said, comparable to NYC today. But his princes are fools. The counsel of the wise counselors of pharaohs is become brutish. His counselors, his advisors. Okay? Brutish. They're giving him foolish advice. That's what scripture says. Obadiah may get that. The scripture says there's no understanding in him. Because he's arrogant. He's proud. In so much that his own allies want nothing to do with him, man. Okay? And like we said, his irrational thinking. He didn't think things through. Right? And the people that's giving him counsel, let's get that. I think is Sirach. Let me hold that. Sirach 37 verse 11. Let's get this precept to link with that actually. Sirach 37:11. There we go. 10. It says, consult not with one that suspected thee, and hide thy counsel from such as envy thee. That's a fact. Verse 11. Neither consult with a woman touching her of whom she is jealous, neither with a coward in matters of war, nor with a merchant concerning exchange, nor with a buyer of selling, nor with an envious man of thankfulness, nor with an unmerciful man touching kindness, nor with the slothful for any work, nor with an hireling for a year of finishing work, nor with an idle servant of much business. Hearken not unto these in any matter of counsel. So what is Sirach saying? You can't go to unfit people to give you counsel or advice, man. And as you can see with Aisha, you not fit to rule, man. Your counselors, as the scripture says, are brutish. Okay? I just seen this guy, Pete Hegseth. That's who's in your military cabinet, man. Secretary of Defense or whatever the case is, man. But ultimately, we know the least of the flock, they drew you out. Israel, right? They drew you to the border. Okay? And now, as we read in this article with the Iranians, there's a lot of traps set up for you, Babylonian sheeple, man. They said, yo, come closer, man. See? And when did ever nations ever talk to Babylon like that, man? Never. Because she's the hammer of the whole earth. As it tells you, the book of Jeremiah may get that. Right? The top military force on the planet Earth. It also tells you in that book of Revelation, the 16th chapter. But now that cloak of invincibility is gone. Right? And Trump was talking, I forgot, there's a term they have for this guy. What is it? Oh, here we go. Yep. There we go. It's called taco. They said, Trump always chickens out. Right? That's a term that the media came up for this guy because he always says something. Right? He make this strong stance and then he makes a crazy U-turn. Right? He said, I'm going to bomb your energy structures, this, that, and the third if you guys don't make the deal. And they called you out on your bluff and now you're making a U-turn, man. Right? They said Trump's $1 trillion taco that wasn't. Iran confronts the master of the deal with a partner he can't bully. Right? Because that's what Babylon is known for. Bullying the weak. Okay? That's what she's known for, man. See? But now Yahweh Shemal Shah, the earth is going to come up against this man. Right? And, proves that you guys are the Edomites. That's just this hasty decision making, man. Just like your forefather Esau. When you read Genesis, the 25th chapter, he gave up his birthright, man. Right? He gave up his physical wealth and most importantly, the spiritual blessings, the covenant that Yahweh Shemal Shah had with Abraham and Isaac. Right? He was supposed to go to Aisha, but he said, what is this? I don't care about that, man. Give me this meat, man. Right? Give me this food, man. Right? And now he end up losing out on the blessing because he's a carnal man. He's always outside the will of Yahweh Shemal Shah. Okay? Let me get like I said, this is just a quick video on this whole war, the current state, and how the bully is getting bullied, man. Okay, and show you, like we said, these counselors. Let me get the book of Obadiah, and let me get the book of Job. How you call it? It's Job 18. Get Obadiah. Because in times past, Babylon was the one doing the bullying, right? They set the sanctions on nations and embargoes and preventing other people from trading or cutting people out from trading, right? But now that's being done to you, okay, with this whole Strait of Hormuz. But let me get this book, Obadiah. Jump straight to it. Obadiah chapter 1, verse 7. All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee to the border, okay? They brought you to the border, man. Especially these Amalekites, man. They got you into some shit, man. Okay? Now you can't get out of it. That's the book of Jeremiah. It tells you the least of the flock. Jeremiah was going to draw you out. Okay? Everybody know that this is Israel's war, man. Nobody wanted any parts of this. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee. Right? All these nations that's taking your money. Right? You got so-called allies in the Middle East. You know what I mean? They don't want no dealings with you now, man. All right? Over there in Kuwait and Qatar and Bahrain, they like, man, we don't want to deal with this bullshit, man. And they also making deals, your so-called allies, to maneuver around the dollar. Nobody wants to deal with the dollar anymore, man. Okay, making deals with China, making deals with Russia. So the scripture says they have peace with thee, they deceiving you. And he's so arrogant he can't see it. And Trump is arrogant, man. Right? Yahweh Shemal Shah was a lunatic to be governing Babylon, man. Okay? The height of Edomite pride. And he's a fool. That's why they came up with that term called taco. Right? He I forgot. There's another term in He sounds like a lion, but he feels like a cat, right? There's people like that. They sound boisterous and strong, and when you get into actual fight with them, you hit their ass, and nigga feel like a cat, man. Like, yo, what was all this shit you were talking, man? Well, that's America. That's Babylon. That's Trump. Okay? Have prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee, like we were talking about. There's none understanding in him. Right? Yahweh Shemal Shah said there's no understanding in him because he can't even see that he's being led into a trap. Right? And in times past, you were doing the trapping. Right? But let's get to Psalm 7 verse 15. It says, he made a pit and digged it, and is fallen into the ditch which he made. His mischief shall return upon his own head, and his violent dealing shall come down upon his own pate. Right? What they call that boomerang effect. He was known for setting traps and bullying people in times past. Now that's being done to you. Right? Because your ships can't get through the Strait of Hormuz. You begging NATO. Now you going to China. Now you telling Iran, let's make a peace deal. They're like, nah, we not doing that, man. Okay? We not doing that. See? That's why, man. So, call him La Yahweh Shemal Shah, man. Like we said, Babylon in times past used to bully Cuba, Venezuela, these other Middle Eastern countries. Right? But now, you're being bullied, man. See? And this is all the Lord's doing. Right? Let me get that. Jeremiah chapter 50. Like I said, quick video today to probably how Bashim al-Shah is going down, man. And there's so much has been happening. I tell you, brothers and sisters, to stay in tune, stay locked in. You know, listen to the elders, the apostles, the brothers. Look at the news. Things is picking up. We're already in the springtime. And we know the economy is going to take a crazy, crazy hit. And Aisha, he about to bring forth a lot of, because he's losing his kingdom, right? And his hidden things are being searched out, right? And the scriptures tell you that the earth, let's get that book of Job before I read Jeremiah 50. Job chapter 20, verse 22. It says, and above all, like we said, they're using this crisis to set up their NWO. Okay. They're going to use this because 1 minute they do need the chaos. And that's the whole reason why they created the state of Israel, according to Albert Pike, was to usher in the WW3. But it's to bring in this new system. Right. But like we said, they want to control this chaos and rise out of the ashes like a phoenix. And like scripture says, try to build in desolate places. That's not going to happen. Right. Your kingdom is going to be destroyed and then you're going into captivity. But let's read on. It says, Jeremiah 50:22, in the fullness of his sufficiency, he shall be in straits. So he's going to go through many difficulties to try to set up this NWO. Right. Every hand of the wicked shall come upon him, meaning these laborers, his own people going to come up against him, man. Right. There's going to be civil unrest in Babylon. People not regard their kings or their princes in 2nd Ezra the 15th chapter. All right. And above all these nations, let's read verse 27. It says, the heavens shall reveal his iniquity, starting with Yahweh Shemal Shah on down to his men. Right? The Lord raised the prophets up. See? And they're not only the conspiracies, we calling this man out by name. You are the biblical Edomites, man. You're the end of the world. Your time is up. Okay? Bringing out all his past crimes, what this man has done. Right? The scripture says, he builded this whole place on iniquity, sin upon sin. See, now all his conspiracies is being exposed, man. So that scripture says, the heavens shall reveal his iniquity, and the earth shall rise up against him. Right? You know, this WW3, the War of Armageddon. Okay, the earth is going to rise up against him, and that's happening right now. Let me get Jeremiah the 50th chapter. Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 24. It says, verse 24, I have laid a snare for thee, and thou art also taken, O Babylon. And thou wast not aware, thou art found and also caught, because thou hast striven against Yahweh Shemal Shah, man. So the Most High said he laid a snare for you. He laid traps for you, man. And you weren't aware, right? Because you're not a wise man. You're not prudent. ultimately you don't fear the Lord anyway, man. Scripture says in your mind you think you are the Most High. So the Most High, he laid a trap for you, man. Especially using those Amalekites, man. See? And the scripture says you were taken, you're going to be destroyed. Let's read up one more verse. Let's read verse 22. Let's jump up. A sound of battle is in the land and of great destruction. How is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? How is Babylon a desolation among the nations? Because as we know in 2nd Ezra 15 chapter, which goes into the war of Armageddon further on down, not early up in the chapter, when you read 20 on down, it goes into the also the Valley of Decision, all the different armies that's going to be over there, right? And how part of that land going to be destroyed, but eventually the scripture tell you, I think verse 30 something on down, how arrows are going to be shot onto Babylon and it's going to make her desolate, right? This place is going to be destroyed, man. Russia, China, right? Those different nations, they're going to shoot missiles upon Babylon, specifically Russia, man. They're going to be a guard for Persia, right? The Carmanians. That's also in that same chapter, man. You see? And the scriptures tell you that the hammer of the whole earth, because Babylon is or was the top military or the dominant force once upon a time. But now these nations, the weak, they're saying you become like us, man. We're not scared of you, man. As we read in the article, they say, yo, come closer. We ready, man. Right? We ready and our citizens are ready. You people in America, you're not ready. You don't want to go fight, right? And they don't want no war, man. Right? Because war has never touched the soils of this place. But scripture says she's no longer going to be called tender and delicate. She's about to face that war, man. All right? So, like I said, this is a quick war update. We're going to keep our eyes on this thing. Also going to do a video on these rats over there as well. But with that, I'd like to say, Hopefully, brothers and sisters edified. With that, I'd like to say, Shalom.